Welcome everyone back to another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver when she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Unfortunately, she passed on 1/1/2020. We started Together for Sharon in her memory, and today we continue this because it's very important. So many individuals out there, and I'm in Florida, but I have to tell you, the two lovely ladies here with me today not only inspire me, and I hate saying that because I say it to a lot of people, but these two just really keep me going. And I'm not going to get into my back surgery, which I had recently, but I wouldn't miss this for the world. So I just wanted to welcome Kathryn and Naomi from American Parkinson's Disease Association, Virginia. And again, to me, there's a lot of great foundations, organizations out there, but American Parkinson's Disease Association is one that I hold close to my heart because when my mother was extremely sick, you all showed up. And that's something that I'll never forget. Others, men that have been in our area in South Florida, some just didn't have the opportunity, but one of the most beautiful people came over. She talked about a lot of movement things. It was too far gone for my mom, but just knowing that that support was there, I'm so proud of you two. And really, if you're from Virginia listening or around the world, I mean, it's such an amazing opportunity to speak to you both. So welcome again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I bet you tell that to all the girls.
No, I really appreciate your time, and actually I was really excited today because not only are you part of a national big time organization, but you bring such unique, really, I don't know the word, but like almost you kind of created something new, but it's almost like your own, even though it's part of something bigger than all of us. So maybe we could just get into both of your backgrounds for a moment. How did you get into the world of Parkinson's community awareness and advocacy, and maybe from there we can get into what you're working on today.
Yeah. Naomi, do you want to go first, or should I go first? How's this work?
You can go first and I'll go after.
Okay. So I'm Kathryn. I am the chapter coordinator for the Virginia chapter of APDA Virginia. Where did I start? Where should I start? Once upon a time I was born. Yeah, so I got my master's in public health and community education and behavior in Georgia at Georgia Southern University in Statesboro. And so from there, I, during the pandemic, took a job working with St. Joseph's Candler Hospital in Savannah. And I was their movement disorders outreach coordinator for their program there. So I was working with people with Parkinson's, essential tremor, Huntington's disease, all of the above, you name it. Kind of doing what I do here, but a smaller regional scale. So yeah, I was running all over the place, going to different support groups. And I just really liked working with the Parkinson's community. They're very active. They're really wanting to advocate for themselves and for Parkinson's. And so as a side note, I'm super excited about the National Plan for Parkinson's getting passed the other day, or last week, I guess. So yeah, that was really exciting for me. So I just decided, I wanted to keep working with people with Parkinson's. On a personal note, I had a grandfather who had a Parkinsonism, and another grandfather who had Lewy body dementia. And he actually lived in the area where APDA Virginia started, which was Virginia Beach. So it kind of fit and made sense that I would end up here, call it fate or whatever you will. But yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here.
Thank you.
I would say for myself, I've had different transitions. So I'm originally from DC and I went to Old Dominion. At first, I wanted to be a physical therapist. So I graduated with my bachelor's in exercise science, started working at a hospital where I was able to kind of get a little bit more hands-on experience with just different people, really, ICU, stroke, those who had common hip and knee replacements. And then once before the pandemic started, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So I went back to ODU to pursue my graduate degree in public health. So I graduated May of 2022, was trying to figure out, what I kind of wanted to do following graduation. And I kind of fell into APDA in terms of my public health. That kind of originated just from those in my family who had chronic illnesses and kind of having that passion for helping others in terms of education and support and whatnot. So that really is what kind of motivated me. And then once I applied to APDA and got the job there, it really kind of opened my eyes and learning more about the Parkinson's community. So I'm been here for almost 2 years now, and I've learned a lot from being here. That's kind of my background, kind of how I dove into APDA here.
I appreciate it. And thing I found, and I'm always honest on these, even though we're not live, you two really open your arms to so many people. And to me, even though I'm in Florida, I do feel like we're family. I say that a lot, but I actually feel it with both of you, and so grateful to, not just for today, but the past interviews. And it's hard because I'm alone in this, at least on my side, Together for Sharon, but my dream is to let the world know about, what you're doing, because I feel that even if we reach one person today, everybody out there listening shares this, we can really change the world, even if it's for just one person. And as you both probably agree, no one's alone in this fight. And I felt alone as a caregiver and my mother, during her struggle. So I just want to thank you both again. Can you tell me a little bit more about APDA Virginia in a moment? Actually, I may as well do it. I'm going to share your website because I know there's very exciting things coming. I'm not sure if we'll get this aired and by this week, but if someone missed it now, they can still join so many other of your incredible events. So maybe we could talk a little bit about the chapter.
Yeah, and thank you. I want to give a shout out to our Florida chapter. Desiree's worked so hard, and I know she works very closely with you, so we are super excited that she came on board as well. So we are kind of like a little family up and down the East Coast, if you will, but even all over the country. There's APDA chapters everywhere, and I kind of get similar feedback. I feel like I hear is that APDA is really the community oriented focus, and since we both have backgrounds with community health and building different communities and capacities and finding resources for people with Parkinson's and making sure those resources are sustainable, there's a lot of thought that goes behind setting up a lot of these programs and a lot of these connections and things, and so that's kind of our approach to it, I guess, is what you would say. Even, and like you were saying before, even if we are just helping one person, it's rewarding for us, I think, when we set up different programs or events. The Optimism Walk, a education day, you could see on that main page we passed by, we just did on this past Friday, which for the future listeners was May 31st. Even if one or two people come, we did have a lot of people, but even if one or two people come, as long as that person is getting something out of it and we're able to help them and it makes an impact in some way, that's something that I think we can bring forward, because we're here to help people manage their Parkinson's on that day-to-day basis after you leave the doctor's office, because that's really where you're living your life, right? You're not reduced to your disease. You want to remember that it is just a subset of symptoms. It's just something you have to deal with, and we're here to help through that.
And one of my favorite things is the walk, not just because it's a great day, but you bring a lot of work since COVID, unfortunately, like both of you mentioned, we do online. So even now we're all virtual and on the same state, which is amazing that we can do this, but being there live is something that it's hard to express. I usually have a little table in the middle of all the pharmaceutical company. So sometimes people are scared or timid to come up to me because I'm not looking to do anything but give them a hug and let them know they're not alone. So finally, I've had people, one gentleman, I'll never forget, he was in a wheelchair, he had Parkinson's, and his wife kind of wheeled around us, but then saw my mother's photo and came up to us, and they literally we didn't even talk. They just came over, hugged us. We all cried together and hugged each other. There's not anything I could ever like post online or explain that, it's just so touching. It's like life-changing, and that's what motivates me to keep going. But I love, we have it once here too. I hope someday we can get you out to the South Florida. You might not leave though. It's pretty beautiful weather, although it is very hot, like you mentioned. So maybe you could talk about this upcoming event. Again, we might be airing this after, but it doesn't matter because we still can donate even after the walk 24/7. And please visit the American Parkinson's Disease Association website for Virginia, and please support Kathryn and Naomi and all their incredible work. Maybe we could jump into, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the Optimism Walk.
Yeah, I will let Naomi toot our horn about that, but I wanted to touch on really quickly. I liked what you said about feeling like we're all a family, and when you come to the walk, people can just feel comfortable, and that's kind of what we want to achieve with all of our events, but especially the walk. It is our biggest event that we have here in Virginia, but I really like that whole concept of fostering your chosen family. You want people to feel like, even if you are in the middle of a bunch of different drug companies or whoever it is, even for the drug companies, we want people to come to the events for APD Virginia and feel like everyone is approachable. This is an interactive, educational, safe space for people to be able to talk and learn about. It's a safe space and place, because those can be two different things. So even after the walk, we want people to feel like they're able to reach out to someone and kind of reduce that social barrier. A lot of times with healthcare, you have a trust factor, or you have some kind of a social, emotional, mental block that prevents you from reaching out. So we're trying our best in our events to foster some kind of community so that you feel like you're able to get the resources, or the person who you need to reach out to when you really need it. But yeah, I'll let Naomi talk, because I could just go on and on.
Well, I would say too, I think one great, as Kathryn was talking about, those first steps of kind of creating that community, I would say like APDA has two programs that are really great for that. So one is called the PRESS program. And those are for those who have been newly diagnosed. We just finished our session last Wednesday, and I think it can be kind of intimidating when you're trying to find your community, you're newly diagnosed, and I think APDA does a really great job of creating those smaller environments for those who are trying to bridge that gap and kind of find their people in a sense. And as Kathryn mentioned earlier, I think we have really great quality programs that I think that are really nice. It may not be the largest, but I mean, I get stories from all the time, calls from people all the time who are just really appreciative of the quality of the programs, the fact that we're able to find local doctors who were in their area, who they're seeing, the fact that we're able to have different panelists who can come and just speak. I mean, the program that we had on Friday with Dr. Evan Gray, I mean, he stayed after to answer people's questions. When we had our conference that we had in March, Dr. Rajan stayed for the entire conference when he could have left and went home on a Saturday. So I think just the visibility of seeing their healthcare providers in person, staying to ask questions, it really adds that personal touch. And it makes me happy to work here. We're able to see the benefit. It's kind of like a dopamine for ourselves to really see how excited and people are happy that they're able to get their calls answered, or the programs that we do. It adds some sort of just quality of life that we're able to provide for them.
Yeah, and one thing I love is that you are grassroots and anyone can get involved. Sometimes, again, I won't speak for big organizations, but you might feel kind of left out if it's too big of an organization. And even as a college professor, I like kind of the regular small, schools, because I get to have a little say. And that's the nice thing about grassroots. And also, like you mentioned, the public health approach. Maybe you can both also touch on, one of the areas, do you have to be a person with Parkinson's to get involved? I mean, if you know me, you probably know I don't have Parkinson's. I'm a caregiver of someone who unfortunately passed, but maybe you could both touch on, let's get everybody out from the community, not just people with Parkinson's, not just the caregivers, but why not everyone? I know here, I brought the police department because I'm in law enforcement. So it's really great. You had the military, we had the Veterans Affairs. So there's so many people in the community that really need to be a part of this in Virginia and Florida, all over the world, so we can help raise funds to end Parkinson's disease. And I think that, as you mentioned, I think, Kathryn, the national plan passed. And to me, it's great, but there's so much more work still to be done. We have to make sure it's implemented, and we need a cure. So unfortunately for me, or for some of you out there who see me too much and don't want to on social media, I'm not going to stop till there's an actual cure. So like I know you two will probably agree, we still have work to be done. Maybe you can touch on who's welcome to the events.
Really, anyone is. We're not picky at all. So of course, those with Parkinson's can attend. We always welcome care partners. Even those who don't have a personal connection to Parkinson's, it's really just about advocacy and kind of spreading the word. Sometimes you just happen to know someone who has, Parkinson's, or just, as people age, and just knowing the signs and symptoms and kind of spreading that awareness is always is always important. So if anyone wants to become a volunteer or interested in supporting us, just feel free to give us a call. Let us know that you're interested in volunteering in whatever capacity, whether it's for the walk, we always need volunteers. We're always getting invited to different programs, and since we're a staff of 2, we don't always have the capacity to be able to attend every program, but want to continue to spread the word about APDA Virginia. So we welcome the opportunity to work with anyone in the community who's just passionate about helping others. And we're always happy if they don't know about Parkinson's. We're happy to kind of train them and kind of guide them in the right direction so that they feel comfortable in doing so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
please,
sorry.
you have the floor. It's yours.
I was gonna add, we like supporting organizations that are working regionally or in different cities. We have different, we call them partners in Parkinson's. So we've got, they're either local gyms or they're businesses or people who are really supportive of the Parkinson's community. We want to make sure we're supporting them too, so that the people who do have Parkinson's and their care partners are able to get all the resources that they need, or if they do have a place that they feel safe that they can go, they can reach out to their resource, they can reach out to us, and then their resource can get support from us as well. So it's a two-way street. Like you said before, we're all in this together. So as much that we can build together, the more it's gonna, things are gonna be able to work well in the future. You don't want to be one of these come into the community, turn and burn kind of people, because then no one's really getting anything out of that. And that doesn't really make an impact, nor does it help the people who we're supposed to be serving. So we want to be purposeful with what we're doing and how we're doing it. And so the Optimism Walk is a great way for that to happen in the community. We've got ours is coming up this Saturday. So we are in the weeds of event planning. But it should be good. We've got a whole bunch of different people coming out, some different vendors of all varieties. And the idea is that people can come and, get their dopamine boost, but also be able to connect with other people who do have Parkinson's, or other caregivers. So if there is a person in the community who's maybe hesitant to come out, or they just want to learn more about Parkinson's, like Naomi said, all of our events are open to anyone who's either interested, who's passionate, who is affected by, who knows someone. There's really no barrier or border that would prevent anyone from coming to our events, other than the 2 of us having to travel around the state. So
Thanks. And everyone, please support everyone here at apdaparkinson.org/community/Virginia/ and please share this. One nice thing, I bet you can also donate if virtually, probably. I don't know if you can attend virtually, but there's so many other opportunities. If you have Parkinson's, it's too tough to get out that day. They don't want you to feel alone or left out. So please, no matter what, join them and help in this amazing cause. Also, I just want to thank both of you for doing our interview. If you go to TogetherForSharon.com, you'll see some friendly faces and I really appreciate it, because here you can actually look a little bit more about our speakers today and how to reach out to them. Also, Naomi, I love this picture with the artwork.
Thank you.
I have to keep reiterating how incredible these individuals are here today. I mean, I try to focus on people who inspire me, like both of you, and my only dream is not just to have a cure, but that we are all in this together. And sometimes it's not as easy because, like I said earlier, I don't want anything. It sounds shocking, but like people in 2024, you got to get with the program here. That a lot of us, including Naomi and Kathryn, just want to help the community. We're not all in this, for the big bucks, I'm sure, but what we are in it for is that, again, no one feels alone. So I just want to thank you both for that. I do have an important follow-up question. Maybe each of you can touch on, what does optimism mean to you?
what does optimism mean to me? Well, geez, way to hit us with that question, George.
That's the name of the walk.
Yeah, I mean, in the simplest terms, it means the Optimism Walk. Which, by the way, you can in fact attend virtually, the Virginia one. So if you are somewhere else and you want to kind of see how it's going, we are going to be live streaming and posting pictures and stuff all over our social media, Instagram and Facebook. So definitely check that out if you haven't had a chance. But I think along the public health lines, I always say that public health and health in general, if you can work yourself out of a job, that means the community is healthy, right? That means you've done what you needed to do. So if there's something left to be done, that means there's still somebody out there who needs help. So you don't ever want to have to work your way out of that, even though we want everyone to be healthy. But somebody is always looking for some kind of resource. So what kind of gives me that, that hope and progress, optimism tagline, is that people who hear about us by word of mouth is usually the best way to go for us. I mean, we do try to do outreach at different events with different healthcare officials and things like that, but really just hearing from somebody about how what you were able to do impacted them in a positive way, in an optimistic manner, is something that I think keeps both of us going. And public health is one of those jobs that it's not entirely thankless, but it's not something that you can see immediate results from, right? Like, it's not like 2 + 2 is 4 and there it is, there it goes. It does take time. So I think as long as we feel like we're getting good feedback, which we welcome all feedback, but as long as we're getting people who are letting us know that they're able to get their services or whatever they were calling about, there's a little bit of follow-up, and we do want to check on them and make sure that everyone's getting what they need to get.
Thanks. What about you now? No, I'll put you on the spot. I don't have a spotlight.
She's optimistic already. Look at her.
The question is, what does optimism mean to me?
Yeah,
To make sure.
because that's the name of the walk. I figure we touch it. It's not
Yeah. I would say that I think in terms of the Parkinson's community, we know that there's not specifically a cure for that, but I think still choosing to be present, to spread the awareness, to be able to create a sense of celebration, I think shows optimism. Even like when we had the event on Friday, it's the guy mentioned, one of the presenters or panelists mentioned about playing an instrument, playing a tune to a different instrument. And I think that making a choice, to still continue to live life, to still come to different programs when you have a disease that doesn't have a cure, I think that's choosing to be optimistic and, waking up every day and choosing to still find a way to be happy, to still continue to live a quality of life. I think that's optimism until we find that cure. I think it's making a choice to do that in spite of your current circumstance, I think is optimism.
That really speaks to our grassroots roots as well as an organization, because if you are somebody who is looking for a way to get back to feeling some sense of normalcy, or play the different instrument or the same instrument to a different tune, we're here to kind of help with that. So if you are in another state, or if you're in Virginia or wherever, if you call, you're going to get a person. It's not going to be an automated message or like a press number 1 for whatever department. So I think that optimism part really speaks to us, because we, as an organization, someone is going to pick up the phone. If you call APDA Virginia, it will be myself or it will be Naomi. And then we have the ability to take the time to kind of talk with you and figure out, what is it that made you happy? What can we do to help support you getting back to your activities or anything that you used to do? Some things might not be quite realistic, like no underwater basket weaving. However, I could help you get in a pool. We can help you figure out how to go back to basket weaving. It might not be underwater, but things like that.
I appreciate it. And I have to say, you both motivate me every day, and it's important, certain virtues, I think, for leaders and individuals in this community. You're so approachable and friendly. And again, it's like makes me want to do more. If you had the opposite, I might not even want to, go on. That's why I think it's so important to have incredible and inspiring individuals like both of you in charge of this. And I know you're not really in charge, everybody's together, but I think it does take a certain leader to be able to put this together, and these events are not easy. Maybe we could now get to the fun part, which is more about both of you, and you could either take it one at a time, or if you both want to answer it, no problem. What is your goal for the future of advocacy for Parkinson's disease?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
You always move on into the next one.
No, that's good. You're really putting my degree to work today, George. I don't know, Naomi, do you want to go first or should I?
I'm still thinking, so you can go ahead.
So a few things come to mind for me. So it's the questions, what does the future of advocacy look like? Was that it?
For you or for all of us together.
Okay, just in general. Yeah. I think more of that bridge building. So personally, a lot of the things that I've seen working in healthcare, and with communities for non-healthcare related things, in general, the community organizing really works. It starts at the small level, right? Is that what we say? We start small and we go big. Think global, act local. So I think for me, the advocacy piece, healthcare wise and Parkinson's wise, is the coming together part. We have to be able to find ways as organizations, as communities, as individuals to break different barriers down that we might notice in our communities. So it might not be something specific. It might be a little bit abstract, but you're noticing like, I feel hesitant when I do X, or there's something there that's preventing me from doing whatever. Or even as a community, this community in this way wants to have this goal happen, but there's something in between. Bringing more people involved, bringing people to the optimism walk, getting people involved with different programs, helping your neighbor who you learned has Parkinson's, 4 doors down, and you might not know them well, but you know about APDA Virginia because you heard about us at a health fair or something like that. Just being able to reach out, finding a way to remove that kind of bystander hesitancy, to get more people involved, I think creates different leaders and different advocates moving forward. So we all kind of started somewhere a little bit smaller, right? Like I would hope that everyone thinks that I'm doing great as a public speaker, but I didn't really start out this great, right? I was the very shy kid. I didn't really talk a lot in class. But it does take just one person. In my case, it was a professor who was like, you're really one of those quiet fire people. Like sometimes you have really great ideas, but you should share them. And you're not going to be able to advocate for yourself or other people if you're not able to speak up. And so whatever barrier I felt was happening, whether it was abstract in my head, a mental block, whatever, just acting on it one time helps reduce that, and moving forward you can become a better advocate. So that's for me personally, but I think in general, having different community members learn about us with all the outreach that we're doing and things like that, it really helps to remove that something, you know what I mean, that like there's a hesitancy there that you're not really sure about how to move forward. So by us, I think going all around in the community, it really helps with that advocacy piece, but I would like to see more people know about Parkinson's. And I think with the plan that has passed, obviously it's got more national visibility now. So more people are talking about it, but that's definitely something that's going to be able to help in the future. So I'm really hopeful for, they're going to build a committee, a commission, a council on Parkinson's and things like that. I think whatever they're able to produce will help, ideally. So that's, I guess, yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks. Naomi, I have a question for you. What is one moment, maybe the most memorable moment that stands out through your work so far in awareness? Probably more than one, but let's focus on the one. Is there one?
I would maybe say the most recent one was about maybe last month when we had a newly diagnosed program in Richmond, and I was driving to Richmond, and it's called A Good Start. And that's a 2-part program that focuses more on, what is more of the clinical side of what is Parkinson's, what's the importance of an exercise, what is the importance of a healthcare team. And someone called me while I was driving and called my work phone, and I answered. And ironically, her husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's a week ago. And that program was in the same city and less than an hour away. The program was beginning in an hour. And I told her, that we have this program for those who are newly diagnosed, please come, if you feel open to it, if you're not, I'm sure you're probably very overwhelmed, but this will be a good program that kind of explains, what is Parkinson's. And so first she said no, and then she called back and she said, we're going to come. Her and her husband are going to come. So they ended up coming. And she was just so appreciative. She gave me a hug after, and she was after the meeting, a couple of the guys were just talking or whatnot, and she said, "This is the first time my husband has smiled since last week." And that just made me really happy because, you know, just she said she wanted to be a volunteer. She's coming to the walk. She's coming to our car show. And just those small experiences, you know, to me, it's just me driving to Richmond, you know, to do my job essentially. But I kind of told her, I was like, that was kind of God in a sense. I mean, the fact that what are the odds that you call me? We have and because we're kind of based in the Hampton Roads area. So I was an hour away from kind of our base in a sense. And the fact that it was the first day of our program, you know, she was able to make it. And then I followed up with her after and gave her some local resources or whatnot. So that's probably my most recent kind of memory, because it just made me very happy on the inside. And the fact that she was just taking a chance of calling me and looking for some resources, and the fact that she was just able to come, you know, and the fact that her husband was smiled for once, you know, because I'm sure he had been very overwhelmed with what his next steps were. Made me very happy to see. So
Yeah, people don't realize how much you do out of the scene, like not just on the Zoom, like the behind the scenes. I know Desiree drives all over the place, and I don't
yes.
want to drive down the block to the community club. Like I like staying home, but I just realized how you're covering Virginia, not just, one little city. So people, everyone out there, we're grateful for both of your work, because it's not easy to, put these things together and show the magic, almost like Disney side, but not the background side. So I just admire you both.
We're
This is
working on it.
important. Yeah, this is an important question that you might be able to touch on, Kathryn. Who helps you in times of struggle? I was a caregiver, and what tips can you give to the caregivers out there listening? But my question basically is, obviously you love what you do, but there's got to be times, even when I'm at the events, that kind of heartbreaking, because you see what Parkinson's can do to someone. I don't know if both of you, I think you might have mentioned, have been affected by someone with Parkinson's in your life, but obviously, my story a little bit, or most of it. Not a day I lost my mother, who's also oddly my best friend. I always say I need a shirt that says proud to be a mama's boy, because we spoke 10, 20 times a day. It wasn't, I think it was normal for me, but when she went through her struggle, like I wrote in my book, it was something that I fight today for, that no one else ever has to go through that, or their family. So maybe you could touch a little bit about, are there tough times during this job? And if you imagine a caregiver coming to an event, what advice could you give them? Because this is, again, very important to mention that you both did say events are not just for people diagnosed, it's also for people who are caregivers today, and for people like me, which is amazing, because a lot of time I don't feel involved a lot or welcome, but to the optimism walk I do for people who lost loved ones due to Parkinson.
Yeah, so let's see, where do we start?
It's a tough question.
There's a few parts to that. So the first thing, usually when care partners reach out to us, outside of, the optimism walk or something like that, if somebody calls, like Naomi was saying, someone who called, they were looking for information, and it just so happened that we had something going on. Personally, I like to thank people for calling, like right off the bat, because you don't know what that person who you've never met before was going through, or whatever. They broke whatever barrier they needed to pick up the phone and call you. It could have taken guts. It could have been easy. It could have been a struggle. You don't know. But a lot of people who will call if they're going through some kind of distress, or they sound like they're, just at their wit's end or something like that. I like to thank people for calling, because you just don't know how much it took for that person to call, to even ask in the first place. I have a problem asking for help. I'm sure a lot of people resonate with that. I don't know if it's a pride thing or if it's an individual thing, but I think that happens to a lot of people. So you do the right thing by reaching out to your resource, right? It could be us, it could be Michael J. Fox, it could be you, it could be anybody. You do the right thing by reaching out. And so that's something you can check off your checklist. After that, you start having a conversation with people. You want to get to know them. You want to figure out what it is their priority needs are. First of all, are they in a safe place? Are they in a situation where they need to, maybe we need to be calling 911 instead of us? Are you safe? What's going on? how can I help you kind of a situation, and then go from there. It's really just a conversation. However much they're willing to reveal is whatever we're going to be able to help them with. Now, that's not to say you have to tell me everything. But if there's something you're struggling with, we are pretty confidential. We're very safe people to talk to, I think. We don't go spreading around your information. You are a person on the phone, you need help, we're going to be able to find out what we can do to help you. And if we don't know, we usually know somebody who does know, right? So that's part of that advocacy network. We are in a lot of places in the community. I for myself, I'm involved with a lot of other different kinds of groups just on my own time. There's a Coalition for Homeless Older Adults that I'm a part of. I'm a part of the City of Hampton's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Commission, the Social Services Advisory Commission. I like to be involved because I like to know. My husband will call me a busybody, but a professional busybody. I like to know what's going on so that if somebody does call, like a caregiver who really needs this one resource, I can go through my proverbial Rolodex and see who it is I know and who we need to reach out to. And if I don't know that person, one of the people I know will know someone else. So it's just a big web of different people and resources we can reach out to help the care partners, depending on what they're looking for.
Thanks.
And I was going to add on too. I know that sometimes when I get calls personally from a care partner, for their spouse, I always give them a care partner support group as well. Because I think a lot of times, it's the care partner trying to find resources for their loved one. But it's like, okay, what about you? Like you're on this new journey, you're on this new experience. You spend so much time trying to get, your partner's ducks in the row, but like, what about yourself? So even if they don't ask for it, like the person who called me with that, who was newly diagnosed, I gave her the contact for a support group in that area because then they can have an outlet. How can you be pouring to somebody else if you're not pouring into yourself or finding some way to be able to, what about your emotional needs or mental needs or whatnot as well. So I always try, even if they don't use it, to give them the contact for either a virtual support group or an in-person one if they have one available, just so that they're able to take care of themselves as well.
Yeah, it's the airplane. Put your mask on first, then help the person around you.
Yeah.
You can't help anyone if you're not able to do anything for yourself.
I never follow that, unfortunately. I'm the biggest hypocrite. When my mother was sick, you're supposed to take care of yourself first, but she only felt safe when I was there. So I didn't want to regret not being there for her. And then even today as advocate, every time I see somebody struggling today, I kind of put my own pain in the back burner and want, if, like I said, we could even just reach one person. That's why I didn't want to cancel today. It doesn't matter how many surgeries, I have. I just feel this is a very important message. So we talked a little bit about the caregivers. This is a tougher question, but likely, and you get this a lot, someone listening right now or whoever out there shared this might have just been diagnosed with Parkinson's. What advice can you provide more about, what your services offer and why they might find a beautiful home with the American Parkinson's Disease Association of Virginia?
Well, I would say, wait, say the question one more time again.
Sure, no
The
problem.
last part.
Yeah, imagine somebody's listening and they just didn't know about you. Unfortunately, now they will, thankfully. And they just were diagnosed and they're in Virginia. What can we tell our listeners now that will open their eyes that you're there to support them and to help them and that they're not alone?
Well, I would say first, when they call either myself or Kathryn, we'll spend as much time, talking to them, making sure that if they need to find a physician, finding them local resources. We take the time to, by the time our conversation is done, that they're on the right steps, whether finding a support group, adding them to one of our newly diagnosed programs so that they're comfortable, of kind of guiding them on the right steps. We also have literature as well. So I'll even, send them some literature, like I said, support groups in the area and whatnot. I think we also have a newsletter that comes out every other week. So kind of adding them to our newsletter and kind of keeping them in the loop of the things that we have going on in the area, I think is always great. So I think the first step is really calling us and kind of just, in a sense, unloading of, how can we support you? What are the biggest things that you need? Kind of guiding you on the right steps. And then we're always happy to follow back up with people, to make sure that, their needs were met, if they need financial support, we're able to kind of guide them in the right direction, and do that from there. But I think the first step is kind of reaching out to us and seeing how, what are their immediate needs. And if, like Kathryn said, if we can't do it, finding someone, who can essentially help them, I think is the most, important thing. I think that's the most memorable thing is, what can we do right now that can kind of give you a sense of peace. And then kind of as they, find their healthcare provider, finding a support group, we may get less calls, and then we'll see them at a program that we have or the walk that we'll do. We're kind of, sometimes I'll see people like, oh, I saw you in a webinar, or I saw you, at this event. And kind of, that's kind of how we are kind of able to see the people who we essentially connect them to APDA with, is at virtual or in-person events that we have.
Thanks. One other amazing thing is the teamwork that you both have. I find incredible. It's not like that everywhere, and I think that's commendable and something that needs to be across the board. And I know that you're with an organization, but I did love that a lot of the organization joined together with the national plan, and that's what I think really we need more of. But it's not always easy, unfortunately, but I think it's great when everyone works together. Thank you. Just two last questions. One, you could probably pretend you're in this together, or you could do it separate. If you were asked to write a script to a movie about your life story, what would you call it? You could either be in the movie together or separate. Since it's such a family, I think together would be fun. Or we could come back to that one if you want to think of it.
I mean, I really like those murder mystery psychological thriller. Jessica Fletcher kind of thing. So my professional busybody title, that's probably what I would end up being.
Love it. Naomi's going to get back to me in the next part.
You said, what would the title of my life story be?
Yeah, imagine you were asked, like, my dream is to have my mother's book become a movie. It's not easy because unfortunately it's self-publishing, and also Parkinson's, as you know, it's just not a national, even though they just passed the act, it's not a huge topic, which is why I do what I do, to make it a huge topic in the world. But if it's too, we could always come back to that.
Yeah, I would say come back to
No
that.
problem.
I feel like I've had a good life, but it's had a lot of twists and
I don't
turns.
I don't know if I can answer that question.
Yeah, you have to come back to me now.
All right, and the last one, actually, before I get to, sorry, what? Is there any area before I go to the last one that I missed, or something you both want to share about your incredible work, or do we kind of cover it all? I mean, obviously, I feel a lot of these shows are not it's not like we talk for an hour or a half hour and it's over. We have to continually share this. We have to keep meeting. We have to do anything we can to get the word out. I have done over about 100 shows of other people who don't have Parkinson's and people who are not aware, just because I think if we get everyone on board, we'll be closer to a cure. But I was just curious, is there anything else about, things coming up besides the walk, or if you want to mention it again, that you just have the floor now?
I would say for anyone who is listening, come to the walk if you can. And if you can't, follow along on social media if you have one. I guess you must have one, because how else are you watching this podcast? Follow along, reach out to us. You can email, phone call, all of the above. Don't feel whatever that weird blockage is. We don't care where you came from or what's going on. We're happy to help and be involved. And then another thing is, for all of these really great programs and events that we put on, it does take a lot of work for the two of us, and I am lucky to have such a wonderful partner, Naomi. But the two of us, sometimes we tend to overwork ourselves a little bit. So the way that we're able to continue doing all of these programs is through donations, and people being willing to give even a little bit. It goes directly back into exactly what we're doing. All of our donations and funding that we get, it's from the walk, even they go right back into the programs and planning next year's conference for the state, new programs for newly diagnosed people. I know this past year, from some of the donations we got last year, we were able to set up the Care Partner Support Group with some of our regional support partners. So yeah, and then for someone who is newly diagnosed, another thing that they can do is to reach out to their regional partners that we might work with. So there's people in every major city in Virginia. There's somebody who's working with somebody with Parkinson's, and there's a community there for you. So if you can't find it, call us, let us know, and we'll look it up for you.
Thank you. And then the last question, which both of you kind of touched on when we did our interview on the email, if you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, what would they be? Hopefully that one wasn't on the spot. You are allowed to take the Fifth Amendment if you didn't.
I would say that, I don't have a family tie or connection to Parkinson's, but I would say that for someone who's been diagnosed, that there are amazing resources out there, that you don't have to face this disease by yourself. I think the Parkinson's community is very welcoming, social media wise, like yourself, George. Just being able to find community, I think, is so important, and navigating chronic illnesses like this. So you don't have to be alone. I think the first step is making that call, finding some sort of support. And the community is very welcoming. It welcomed me when I was, new, and I appreciate just being able to be in this field and make a direct impact for the community. But I think just finding some level of support, I think, is the first step, because it can be isolating. And if you're able to find some sort of community, whether it's a support group, whether it's just a friend or someone, I think that can make life a lot better.
Yeah, and also to make sure to follow along with us, and also follow along with all of the regional Parkinson's people in your area. We just keep your eyes peeled. We've got something cooking for Parkinson's Awareness Month next year. So that's a great way to get involved for someone who wants to be involved. We're going to be looking for volunteers pretty soon.
Thanks. Well, I just want to thank both of you and the American Parkinson's Disease Association for Virginia for allowing you both to talk today. I mean, I guess I consider you both family, and you've been nothing but amazing support for me over a year. I feel like we've known each other for many more, but it's amazing how fast time goes, and we have had a lot of great progress, even just since we've all met. And I just, again, I'm honored that we can fight alongside to end this disease. So one last note for you two and everyone listening, please share. Again, visit the American Parkinson's Disease Association Virginia. Please donate, please support them. I mean, even if you give $1 each, we could change the world. It's all going to go right back to the Parkinson's community. That's very important. But my little message I always say at the end of these shows is we love you, we support you, we care about you, and you're never alone. I, along with Naomi and Kathryn, will advocate for you, and together our voices are so much stronger. I always, not joke, but I always say I'm just getting started, because every time I meet individuals like both of you, kind of feel, even though I'm in pain with my back, but I feel like some kind of re-energized, like a bunny rabbit, the little, is when I see all the work you both do, and a lot of the individuals, I think Joel might be one, but all the people in your organization, all the people coming to the walk, all the, just incredible. It's like, I won't cry or anything, but it's just so touching. I can't even look at my own cover of the book sometimes. That's another story. That was the dance of my mother and I. And I always say, Parkinson doesn't define you. It might take, unfortunately, from you, but like that moment with my mother dancing at my wedding is one of my favorite moments in my lifetime. And while I sit here with both of you for the past hour, I do this in her memory, but also for everybody out there that I don't want to have to go through this. And unfortunately, as you both know, it's the fastest growing neurodegenerative disease not even in the US, in the world. I was shocked 2 years ago when I discovered it wasn't just approximately 1 million in the US, but 10 million globally. And that's when I went on my own mission. And that's why I'm so honored that you two participated in interviewing over 700 people. I never dreamt Nova Scotia or Iceland would have Parkinson's, but it shows that the disease, doesn't discriminate. But as long as there's incredible warriors like you both out there fighting, I feel like we're in incredible hands. So I just want to thank you both again for your time and the organization. Everyone listening, please share this. It's not about me or anyone. It's about you all. And we just want the word to be out there. And I think that if we all share this and get this out there, not only will we get more donations for this event, or even not even this event, the next one, but we'll come closer to a cure. So thank you both again.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we want to thank you also and all the work that you do. I mean, it's I could not write a book, so congratulations on that. That's really incredible.
I appreciate it. I didn't really want to be honest. I kept the journal the last year until it was really takes you in. I don't know if you had time to see it, but I always tell some people to skip the chapter. It's called The Last Week of My Mother's. It was tough, but I don't think they've never had a book by a son who lost a loved one to Parkinson anywhere in the world. And I always tell everyone, if you see it, let me know, because I will mark my words, but I haven't seen it. But so important to get it out there, just so people, are aware. And there's so many things too, not just living middle and end of life that you have to plan for. I'm only 46 and I already have a will. I already have a power of attorney. I already have a funeral done, everything. Not because I feel like something's going to happen, but just to help support your loved ones, that they don't have to go. I can't imagine going through all that while my mother was battling. So anyway, that's another show. I just want to thank you both, everyone. Thanks for listening again. Please share this. This has been another episode of Q&A with Sharon, son George. We have so much more work to do and so much more incredible things to come. So thank you both, and we send our love and support.
Thank you.
Thank you.